Hello, this is Diogenes Lamp. And what I'm doing today, I'm actually going to not do it today, but I'm explaining this today, is I'm preparing to adjust my valves in my 5VZ Toyota T100 3.4 V6. Anyway, I measured my exhaust valves, and the minimum measurement on the exhaust valve, when you measure it under the shim, between the cam and the shim, it's supposed to be 0.11. Okay, but the problem is I have 0.008, which is smaller. It's too small. So what'll happen is eventually it'll maybe even get smaller, and the valves will burn. It'll damage the valves because they won't close properly. So I have to remove the shim, because every shim is a different size, which I'm waiting for the shim tool to come from California to actually remove the shim from the bucket that's on the engine. But then when I get it out, I have to measure it. Now, I've had this thing for 20 years. I've never used it, and I didn't know how to use it. So I went on YouTube, and two people explained it wrong. And just were a couple things that caught me that said that's got to be wrong. And I was right. They were wrong in two ways. So let me explain a couple things. I did more research, and I finally learned how to do it. There's an old something that comes to mind all the time. I was a big Star Trek fan, and I'm getting off the subject, but I've got to tell you this. And there was a episode where Bones, who was the doctor, had to put Spock's brain back in, and they had this hat that they put on his head. And with this hat, it helped him learn. But as he was putting the brain back together, he started to forget. It like taught him everything it had to do to put the brain back in by wearing this hat, this electronic hat. So that's kind of how I feel, because I learned it, and now I want to explain it before it slips away, obviously, which could happen. All right, so a couple things. First of all, you got to keep this tool pretty clean, because it's a precise tool. So you keep it clean. You don't let metal filings go on it. That's one thing that they explained. Another thing is you don't leave this closed, because it'll rust on the end here, and it'll cause it to be inaccurate. Third thing is, once you get it to the exact setting, you could flip this lock on if yours has a lock. Okay? And fourth is, when you tighten it down onto the object, you don't tighten it with this. You tighten it with this, because this is like a design that it doesn't allow you to tighten it too tight to screw up the measurement. All right, so let's explain what we have here now. Okay, when you roll the barrel, it shows on this space different increments, which are right here. These little teeny increments equal that. Each one is 0.025. Okay, when you go to 4 of those 0.025s, that equals 1. 1. You see the 1? That equals this. That looks like this. 1. Okay. All right, so let's say we're going to measure something now. You put it in there, and let's say it's 1. Okay, you're scrolling it down to 1, see? And then 1 extra click. You see the 1 extra click there? I'm on 1 extra click there, okay? So that means I'm at 1.0 plus that. So it's really it's 1, and you add these two together, so it's 0.125. That's where I'm at. Well, if this is at 0. Hold on a second. Yeah. All right, so you could see now that it's 1 click more, and to make it sure that you're accurately on that click that's beyond the 1, this has to be lined up on this barrel. The 0's lined up. Now, this amount of explanation here, that each one of those lines equals 0.001, okay? So, let's read this now. Okay, so we got it 1 click past the 1, so you have to take the 1, which is this number here. Then you have to add the 0.25, because each of those little clicks, like I said, is 0.25, okay? Now, when we take this barrel and we move this barrel 1 click, like that, and it's lined up with that line, you see the line lined up? That will now add this amount. So if you take those 3, you take the 1, which is there, you take the 0.25, which is there, and you take the 0.001 and you add it up, that's your measurement. So that's your measurement. And then what you're going to do is you're going to measure the shim, and then you're gonna determine. You could figure that out, switch it to metric. You could just Google what is 1.126 in metric, and then you would get the next smaller size shim in my case, because I only have to move it from. I only have to move from. I'm at the actual measurement between the shim and the valve, the cam rather, is 0.008. Okay, so I got to get to 0.00011. So that means I have to make it thinner by that much. But I don't think you could make it thinner by just that little. You have to get it. You could. I think they come in 0.005 increments. So what I'll do is I'll get one that's 0.005 smaller than this, right? So it'll be like maybe 0.121 or something like that, if they have it, whatever that equals, or just one size smaller, and that'll solve my problem on my truck for whatever that is. If this actually happens to be the size of the shim, which this is not the correct size of the shim. This is just an explanation. But I'm showing you how you would actually go to the smaller. So you have to go to a thinner one because you have to open the gap up. Anyway, so that's how you do it. And anyway, yes. And remember, you tighten it onto the job with this because this will click. Hear it? It'll go, listen. It clicks so you don't over-tighten the thing. That's how you tighten it onto the job, and then you release it, and then that's it. So that shows you basically how to use this thing. I've had this thing for 20 years. I never knew how to use it, and I couldn't believe it because I went on YouTube, and two guys explained it wrong. One guy gave me this, but he didn't account for that. It was one click more. He didn't count for that. Another guy did something else that was screwed up, and I was like, that's got to be wrong. And then I found this video. It was an old video from like World War II, and I watched that, and I want to thank those people. I can't remember the name of it, but the reason I'm doing this is because I want to link it to the shim and bucket adjustment on the T100 or the Tacoma that has the 3.45 VZ engine, because you might have to do this, and when you change your valve cover gaskets, you got to check at least the exhaust valves. You really have to, because if they're too tight, which could happen over time. I mean, my truck has 250,000 miles on it or something like that. I had my heads rebuilt once because I had I blew a head gasket, but I was like, I mean, obviously they probably checked it when they put it back together, but who knows if they did. So I said, when I had to do my valve cover gaskets again because they went, I guess they loosened up on me. Because the seals really aren't shot. So next time if they start to leak, I'm going to just take off the manifold and tighten them. But this time I did it. I had all this stuff. But anyway, that's the story. And also, you want to make sure that when you do, while we're on valve cover gaskets, get the genuine Toyota sealant, because you have to seal it in a bunch of different places, and you have these things that are half moons that have to come out. You could find videos on installing that. But this one here is pretty important because I didn't see any videos on this, and maybe Toyotas a lot of them don't have to be adjusted, but mine do. I had two of them. The two outermost on the driver's side exhaust valves were, like I said, 0.008, and the minimum allowable is 0.011. All right, so that's, it's on its way to becoming a problem. It didn't burn the valves yet, I don't think, but I'm trying to solve it. But anyway, I wanted to make my misery take it away for you and make your life a little easier. If you could do me a solid and subscribe and like these videos will help me to get more views and help other people. Thanks so much, and have a great day, and good luck with your 3.4 V6.